Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I want to show you how to navigate around this graph in LoggerPro and show you how to change some of the options so you can look at the different data and start the process of analyzing it. This won't be a complete video. I'm going to try to keep it brief, but here we go. First things first, if you have something behind the graph like the video and you wanted to bring that to the forefront so you can see the video once again, one thing you're able to do is to right click on the graph and move it to the back right here, and then whatever was behind it will be visible. You can do the same thing. You can right click on the video, move it to the back, and get it out of your way so you can see the graph again. Next, I want to show you over here on the axis what you're able to do. Just a left click, just a basic mouse click, and you're able to select various things like just the vertical position, the Y, or just the horizontal position, the X information. Notice the units go with it, or you can select a velocity in the X direction or a velocity in the Y direction. But you can do more than that. You can hit the word more right here in this menu, and it gives you all kinds of options. You could change the label, the name of the axis, but you can go here to the check boxes and you can select multiple things that you might want to put on that graph, on that axis. It can get very confusing if you have multiple bits of information on a single axis. I don't recommend it necessarily, but it's there if you need it. I'm not going to do that at this time. Go back and just look at a position graph here. Next, I want to show you what you can do looking at a position time graph. So let's start to examine this one. First, how do you select some of the data if you want to just analyze some of it, say most of it? You can, with the mouse, click and drag, and you're highlighting a region of the graph, and you can control what data points you include and what data points you exclude by doing this. So I'm just going to highlight, say, all of that. I'm going to leave it at the first data point and the last data point, not for any particular reason, just to show you that that's possible. Next, what I'd like to do is come up here to the top. We're going to look at a couple of these buttons up here. And the first one is right here. If you hover over it, notice it's saying linear fit. Well, this graph looks very linear. So I do that. And what it has done, it has applied a trend line. And the trend line is truly linear. But it's only analyzing the data that I have selected, highlighted. It's ignoring the data points that I did not select. Cool. And then we have this little info box, and we can reposition that information box as we want. We can also close it with this little X right up here. First, I want to show you something. If I right click on it, then I can go to linear fit options. And this is something that's useful. Go to appearance. I'm going to increase the font size. It's a pretty small font size. I'm going to go to 14, click OK, and click OK. And it's a little larger and easier to read. Cool. So what is this showing us? Linear fit 4, video analysis for X only. That's referring to what's on this vertical axis. We see X equals MT plus B. That should remind you of Y equals MX plus B, the general form of a linear equation. Well, it doesn't say Y, it says X right here, because on our Y axis, we're showing X position, the horizontal position. M would be the slope. Right here, the T, that's what's on our X axis, horizontal axis. And then B would be the Y intercept. So here's what we want to pay most attention to. M, the slope. Because on a position time graph, the slope is a very useful number. We want to pay attention to that. We can probably ignore the Y intercept number, and we won't be dealing with the correlation number or the RMSE number. We can ignore those. They're not important for our purposes. If we were doing more advanced analysis, we would want to look at these things as well, but we don't have to. So we have this trend line that is linear. And you can see that, and you can also see that the data itself doesn't exactly match the trend line. More discussion about that is coming later on. But let me show you something else. One more thing here. What if I don't want, oh, by the way, yeah, close that, get rid of that trend line. What if I don't want to look at the horizontal position versus time? What if I want to look at, say, horizontal velocity, X velocity? cool. Kind of a hot mess. It doesn't look very pretty. But I want to show you something else. If I open up, what I'm doing is I'm right-clicking with the mouse. I'm going to go to Graph Options. This is one way to do this. Go up here to Axis Options. And on the Y-axis, it says Auto Scale right here. The scaling is set to Auto Scale. What I want to do instead is Auto Scale from 0. Because if you notice, this vertical set of numbers is the scale on the y-axis. It doesn't go all the way down to 0. It starts at something like 1.3. Even though you don't see the 1.3, I can infer it's 1.3 because we're going by 0.2. This is 1.9, 1.7, 1.5. Take away 1.2, 1.3. So we don't see 0 down here. And it'll be interesting if we do. I'll just go from 0, click Done. And it might help you realize, hey, this isn't great. It isn't ideal. However, it's kind of linear. It really is kind of linear. So I'm going to select this data. Did I miss some of it? Make sure we can get all of it. I'm going to select it. I'm going to come up here to linear fit. Nope, wrong one. Linear fit right there. Okay, we have this linear trend line that it applied. Cool. And once again, I'm going to right click. I can linear fit options. I'm going to go to appearance and I'm going to increase the font size. I'm going to suggest something around 14 or maybe 16 for the font size. Click OK and click OK. And it's bigger, easier to read. And we can see a slope of that line. All right. But this is a velocity time graph, so here the slope means something else than it would on a position time graph. So keep that in mind as well. So that's the basics of navigating around the graph and creating different graphs and starting the process of analyzing the graph. And we'll have more to talk about as we go. Thanks a lot.